Hello and welcome again to Ada Pulse, the community-funded news channel for the Cardano ecosystem. So there's no coin shilling or we don't discuss token price, we just disseminate information. But we'll get onto that, more of that in a minute. Because today, the article is this, which can be found on the Ada Pulse website. What we can learn from the current failure of Ardana and Orbis as well. And so this is based on an article by LiberLion. So we're going to go through that. Remember, the full article can be found on the Ada Pulse website. And do remember to click the like button, hit subscribe, and hit that bell button so you can get notified as soon as we've got content available. Because now that we're funded, there's going to be a soon influx of a lot of content coming your way, especially as we onboard new writers. So I'm Josh from ATM Stake Pool, your presenter for Ada Pulse. Let's crack on with this. Right, so before we kick off, just going to let you know I'm going to do things a little bit differently from now on because these articles can be quite long, so I'm going to start compressing them a little bit, you know, just so to make them into better videos. But remember, the full article can be found on the Ada Pulse website, so let me know what you think. What the hell? Let's try out a few more camera angles while we're at it. But, right, so back to what the article is. So, what can we learn from the current failure of the Ardana and Orbis fiasco? Now, before we go on, you know, let's just point out, we all make mistakes and we all fail at things. So the trick is to kind of learn from those experiences and then it helps you make better decisions. But in the blockchain industry, it's the same as every other. There's, you know, if you make an investment, there's risks. And everyone has like a risk profile, which is kind of like the amount of pain that they're willing to bear. And but that doesn't apply to everyone equally. But what does apply to everyone is that you've got to do your necessary research when making these decisions to basically minimize your damage. Because remember, no one is 100% correct, like all the time. It's impossible. So like we're saying, but you can minimize the damage that you're at risk to. LiberLion has written more than 60 articles about the proposals of Project Catalyst. So we're going back to like Fund 5, and that's like July 21. And it basically just selects the ones that are most interesting to him. But something that he's found in common is that many projects lack detail on the application of the budget, the sustainability of the business model itself, as well as like a reasonable explanation of the roadmap. But let's quickly add, I mean, there are a lot of good developers out there, but, you know, a lot of them, they don't seem to have the adequate accounting and financial help to be able to not just, I mean, develop a product, but it also needs to have a good business model behind it. And LiberLion's pointing out, he sees a lot of management problems within a lot of these projects. But the reason for this video is actually, let's do a forensic analysis to help us understand and learn what has just happened. Right, so it's time to discuss the facts. So firstly, on November the 23rd, both Ardana and the Orbis team suspended their development. Now, Ardana said, now here, I'm going to put on my scam voice.
Hello, Ardana community. Unfortunately, due to recent developments with regards to funding and project timeline uncertainty, the Ardana project has had to come to a halt. Our code will remain open source for builders to continue our work going forward as they wish. Development on Cardano has been difficult, with a lot of funding going into tooling, infrastructure and security. This, alongside the uncertainty around development completion, has led to the best course of action being halting development of DUSD. Remaining funds and treasury balances, etc., will be held by Ardana Labs until another competent dev team in the community comes forward to continue our work.
Hope you like the little voice there. It's just for a bit of fun. But going back to it, Orbis, on the other hand, at the same time said this. I'll put on a different voice.
Unfortunately, due to constrained funding and uncertain conditions, Orbis Labs is unable to continue building and the project has come to a halt. This is unfortunate given the amazing research and work that has been produced. The NFT has been halted until further notice when a continuation plan is set out for the core ZK rollup solution. We as a team, we will do what is necessary for investors and community members to be made whole going forward. This was an unexpected result due to committed investors very recently pulling out of the project and recent events in the crypto space which affected Orbis directly.
Now, if you were on Twitter that day, you would know that that came as a massive surprise to everyone. But not only were these two separate entities both coming to a halt at the same time, and their tweets being almost identical, there is something they have in common, and that is the founder, who is Ryan Matovu. So this is all Ryan Matovu's information on, LinkedIn. He's on countless videos. Even IOHK has Ryan Matovu is the founder of Orbis, the first layer 2 ZK rollup scaling solution for Cardano and Ardana, a Cardano DeFi stablecoin protocol. But let's just say, I think we had a warning here. Twitter user DeFi FUD Destroy said in a Twitter thread, now this is going back to November 2021, and he's saying, like, Ryan Matovu, this guy is a shitcoin scammer. First is Your Finance Decentralized, that's YFD, and the second was Plethora. The third is Ardana. And then he goes on to say, like, serial scammer, and you are walking right into it again. 3 shite projects hyped up and launched. I bet Dana dead 3 months. So, he was wrong about that. It took 1 year and 3 weeks. Now, just to give you a brief rundown of what these, companies are. So, Plethora was basically a failed crypto ETF creation and trading protocol. I mean, there's no information on like CoinGecko or anything like that. Coinbase delisted their token. Their website is down. But from what LiberLion says, their Medium account is active. Now, what LiberLion was able to do is confirm the relationship between Matovu and Plethora. There's a few like transcripts where you've got one where Ryan Matovu is introducing himself as CEO of Plethora, and there's a couple more where he's being introduced as CEO, but you've also got Callum Mitchell-Clark as CCO, and you can see this Telegram group where you can see Ryan Matovu, who's labeled as Booker in this case, introduced as CEO, and again Callum Mitchell-Clark as CCO. But on January 27th of this year, there's a transcript of an AMA with Callum Mitchell-Clark introducing himself as Plethora's CEO. So that's basically saying Ryan Matovu is no longer its CEO. Now, the other thing Matovu's being accused of is being the founder of Your Finance Decentralized, which has the YFD token. But you find a similar thing here. The website just doesn't exist, essentially. There is a listing on CoinGecko, but also Matovu has 2 usernames. Now, in Telegram, that is. Now, at Crypt10Crypt is the one that he's accused of that's being relating to YFD. And it doesn't currently show a link, but just calls himself Booker. Now, in the internet search engine, there's no relationship between Matovu and YFD that shows up. But Matovu did sort of explain his disassociation from like Plethora and YFD. And this is what he said. I was CEO of Plethora, but that project I left way over a year ago for good reason, which is why I am here in Cardano. I was referring to YFD and other people mentioned where I was not CEO or even part of management. I had a job. So is that suggesting that he at least works there? Now let's talk about one of the projects at hand, which is Ardana. Now, Ardana started in November 2020, and the team behind it said Ardana is the leading stablecoin and stable swap DEX on Cardano. So Ardana essentially offered an on-chain asset-backed stablecoin and a decentralized stablecoin DEX. So the project was meant to be backing the stablecoin verifiably by excess collateral on-chain. And if you take a look at their website, you can see this. And so this is a list of all the apparent sort of venture capital companies that were invested in Ardana. But most importantly is C Fund. Now, C Fund is actually a venture firm in the blockchain industry that's anchored by IOHK and managed by Wave Financial. So it's basically a team of investors and entrepreneurs who are looking to invest in blockchain technology and digital assets, essentially. As you can see, Charles Hoskinson also, as a C Fund like investor and advisor, he tweeted this. Looks like I might have just lost 500k on it. I was an investor through the fund, waiting for a readout from them. Now, in their first funding round, Ardana raised $10 million. And then literally days later, they announced that they've raised another $1.5 million in the first round of its public IDOs. So with all this funding raised, you are left wondering, where did all the money go? Although I have heard, and it does seem to be true, that some of the investors was Alameda. So they would have been involved in the old FTX crash fiasco, stealing, whatever you want to call it. They would have lost money in that too. So that probably didn't help the scenario there. But yeah, moving on from that, let's talk about the other company in question, Orbis. Now, Orbis was launched in October 21, and its focus has always been scalability, with this layer 2 protocol using something called ZK Snark rollups. And so it was created by Orbis Labs with the aim of scaling Cardano through it was already proven technology. It'd been used before, but it was to achieve better transaction performance whilst keeping intact sort of the other two, the trilemma of security and decentralization. Now, because they had a project in Fund 8, I believe it was, LiberLion did an article which can be found on the Ada Pulse website. And I also did a subsequent video on that article too. I mean, because it was exciting stuff. I mean, they were asking for $1 million, which was quite a lot. And that actually encapsulated that was the whole of that round. So if they came first, they would have got all the money. No one would have got anything. But they didn't come first. So that means they didn't get any funding at all that round. But yeah, do check out that video for more information about, the stuff about Orbis. But let's talk about what they've done more recently, which wasn't on there. And that was the launch of their native token called Halo. And they also had a private sale of NFTs that was gone through the JPEG store. But what's interesting is, the sale of these of Halo started sort of 6 days before they announced that the project wasn't happening. So check out this tweet. Like I said, 6 days before. You've got Halo, we've got you. We're not going anywhere. Which is pretty interesting language for someone who's just about to go out of business. And then even more so, they retweeted again with saying more than 50% of our NFTs have been minted so far. Don't let these fly out your hands. Grab them now. I mean, that's pretty tough talk for someone who's going out of business. This is basically a rug in the happening, and they know it, and they're just reaching out. That's just pure sales. I'm a salesman. I know sales when I see it, and they are trying to grab as much money as they can before they fuck off. And if you go over to their website, you'll notice their team isn't featured on there at all. But like I said, we did a video on them before for their proposal in Fund 8. So here you go. Here's the full list. Founder, Ryan Matovu, and everyone else. So you can check that out for yourself and read that at your leisure. Final thoughts. Well, looking, at Ryan Matovu, We can't. There's no real compelling elements that would link him to a previous scam where he's the one actually conducting it himself. He did say in this tweet, if you check this out, "This is completely false. I have only been on Orbis and Ardana in the last year. People are bringing up projects I contributed to loosely years ago and attributing me as the founder of them. Me working for a company 3 years ago does not make me a founder of that project." Which, you know, in a statement in itself is fair enough. We know Charles Hoskinson is always known as the co-founder of Ethereum when it was just somewhere he worked for 3 months. Now, at Ada Pulse, we do try and do fair reporting. There are two sides to every argument, obviously. Now, Orbis has sort of, you know, pushed their first gesture of goodwill, if you like, in this tweet. "Hello, community. The recent Orbis NFT sale will be fully refunded to all participants. This will occur in a distribution next Wednesday, with ADA being returned to your wallets. We thank you for all your support." So, look, it's too early to say if this is a rug pull, although, you know, there are some strong indications. But, you know, and the developers are a completely different side of it themselves. So, to them, this is what they said. "This was an unexpected result due to committed investors very recently pulling out of the project." And according to the report, Three Arrows Capital was the one who had to withdraw the investment to pay the debts. So you can see that Ardana does not currently list 3AC as an investor on its website. Now, we don't have access to their company accounts, you know, all the financial information to make a proper sort of conclusive analysis. So we can't say for sure that Ryan Matovu is a scammer, basically. I mean, the main typical rug pull maneuver is to, you know, just to disappear like SBF did recently with FTX, run off to the Bahamas or something. However, you could argue that by, you know, doing it in plain sight is another way of hiding and to avoid being accused as a scammer. So it leaves you with basically two possibilities. It was either poor financial planning and like mismanagement of the business model, you know, so incompetence essentially, or it was a very well concocted scam to steal money from investors. So I can't tell you for sure what it is now, but, you know, only time will tell. But what I cannot stress enough is do your own research. And I'm going to leave with some parting words from Charles Hoskinson.
So the subject of today's video is Ardana and Orbis. Now, I was an investor in these projects through the C Fund, and it looks like it's probably a total loss. I saw over the last few days some grumblings about the projects having issues, and then on Twitter, a tweet came out saying that they have now discontinued operations. Things happen. People sometimes don't execute. People make mistakes. Now, my understanding is, having talked to the C Fund, that the first time we were informed that these projects were having trouble was through Twitter the same time as you guys, which is utterly distasteful. But what this does highlight is that there is a need for us as a community to be better at due diligence and demanding accountability and responsible reporting for the projects who purport to be building on Cardano and are in a position of public trust, either from receiving funds from Catalyst or ISPOs, foundation grants, or venture capital in our ecosystem. They should be more than willing to regularly engage with the community, have weekly or monthly updates on development, demonstrate good source code, including where they're having troubles and problems. Now, if a project is going to fail, it would be nice if you let your investors know prior to going to Twitter and letting the world know. To any other project building on Cardano, please do make sure that you use this as a teachable moment for more transparency and for more accountability. And of course, if there are problems, let them be known now when there's an opportunity for them to be fixed, as opposed to after you fail.
So that was some unhappy words from a very disappointed Charles Hoskinson. So that brings us to the end for today. So do remember to click the like button, hit subscribe, and hit that bell button so you can get notified as soon as we've got content available. And remember, we are a community-funded news outlet. So our job is to just give you unbiased news. No coin shilling or talking about token price or anything like that. But that's it for today. I'm Josh, your presenter for Ada Pulse and stake pool owner of ATM. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.